Retail workers of Reddit, what was your get the frick out experience with a customer? I worked at McDonald's in 1997 and we had Beanie Babies as Happy Meal toys at one point. It was insane. They literally had to buy a security cage to keep the toys locked down in the back. They were delivered with a security escort. People were ordering 100 Happy Meals with no food because we couldn't sell the toys by themselves. One day I heard a commotion up front and found my high school counselor reaching across the counter grabbing one of the owners by the shirt because we were out of the pink flamingo. I'll never forget the look in her eyes. She had to be dragged out. It's scary how easy it can be to work people up into a frenzy. Two women came into the store screaming at each other. As I'm coming out from the back, I gather from the yelling that one had nearly hit the other's car. Nearly. But no actually incident had occurred. It was a busy Saturday. People are starting to stare. I'm trying to gather my wits, thinking how best to handle it, when my manager came flying in from nowhere. She just yells, either come in here and shop like people or go outside with the rest of the animals. One left, one stayed. Haha, they self-sorted. Worked at Radio Shack for 6 months while in college. Pretty much had at least one terrible experience per shift. The one that stands out the most was a guy who wanted us to honor the warranty on his iPhone cable. The thing was a mutilated mess. It had clearly stopped working and he had tried to fix it himself by cutting the cable apart and attempting to solder two wires together. We calmly explained that we couldn't process a claim for an item that was willfully destroyed. And he starts screaming in our faces about how Radio Shack is a scam and I'm going to sue all of you, and then he tries to whip my coworker, a 5-featuring tall non-threatening woman, with the cable. She managed to turn her head and catch the wire with her hand before it caught her in the face. Myself and another employee chased him out of the store and called the police, but nothing came of it. Radio Shack shoppers were the worst. I worked in a T-Mobile store. A lady comes in screaming about how she bought a phone the previous day, didn't buy insurance and dropped it in a pool. She was demanding I give her a new phone for free, but she wasn't even our customer. She was a Verizon customer. She screamed at me for about 10 minutes demanding I call our manager. She then started yelling at other customers about how awful we were, called the cops. This tale takes place roughly 22 years ago at a community college bookstore. As with any college bookstore, the start of the semesters were incredibly busy. In order to help ease the insanity in our small store, we set up a table outside the front door for doing returns. And that's where I was stationed for the day. People got in line. They got to me. I processed the paperwork for their return and sent them inside for the cashiers. This is an important point. I had no cash. No ability to process cards. Just me, a table, a stack of paper, and some pens. That's it. Well, a middle-aged lady gets to me. She is obviously not lacking in funds. Her son has dropped all his classes and she is returning his books. Okay, cool. I do all the paperwork, hand her back the document and direct her inside. And she goes ballistic that she has to wait in line again. I mean, starting nuclear wars ballistic. The customers in line behind her actually went to my manager to file formal statements about her behavior. Not mine. Hers. Because they knew. I take a break and shake it off. Everyone has bad days. And I know that I have the customers' statements to back me up. A few days pass and the manager gets a call. It's the president of the college. With a complaint. The woman called the president of the college to complain about me. So my manager and I head off to a meeting with the president and the woman. We walked in calm and polite. The woman tells her tirade, still screaming and cursing. My manager pulls out the statements and without a word, hands them to the president. The president calmly read them. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I do remember watching the woman turn more and more red. I do remember the word entitled used a whole lot. And I do remember him saying don't waste my time ever again before he showed her the door. I really just don't understand people sometimes. I know some people are raised rich and spoiled and crap, but to get to that level of disregarding the person in front of you, I don't understand. When I worked in the tool department at Sears, a guy wanted to get a replacement on his tape measure. I couldn't replace it because it was the tape that was fricked up due to the guy mistreating it and not caring cause SEARs WLL REPLA SIT F4 FREE. Dude threatened to go out to his truck and get his gun, come back in and shoot. You points at me. You points at my manager who had taken over already. And you points at my co-worker who was standing nearby. I gave him the why haven't you done it yet look and he left. I worked at Sears. I was ready to die. I worked at Sears. I was ready to die. RELATABLE. I worked at a pawn shop for a couple years. We had a customer pawn a chainsaw which turned up stolen and was confiscated by police, which causes the store to lose money and police to be aware that he is a known thief. He came back something close to 3 months later to pawn something else. I didn't recognize him right away. I asked him if he had pawned anything before and he said yes. So I asked his last name and entered it into our computer system, which promptly said stolen. First I thought, really? You came back here? I gave my boss, it's literally a 2-person store, our not very frequently used signal to discreetly call the police. Meanwhile, I started acting like I was working on his loan and stalled a bit. Just a couple minutes later, a couple police cars pulled up and officers quietly walked in and he immediately gave up. I didn't really have to say anything to him. The handcuffs spoke for themselves. Thanks for being an honest outfit. I've had a lot of tools stolen from me before and it's a really terrible thing. When the old guy I was serving kept looking at my chest and making creepy facial expressions, I asked him if he wanted a drink or he was just going to keep staring. He excitedly put his hands out and went, "Oh, I can do more than stare," and tried to walk behind the bar to grab my chest. I told him to get the frick out, to which he seemed very shocked and outraged, so I just started to loudly shout back to him, "Sir, please do not try to grope my chest. You need to leave," over and over until the rest of the bar was staring and he was panickedly whispering for me to please be quiet. So the wife I didn't know he came with wouldn't hear him. Can only imagine the argument that unfolded while she was dragging him out. You are awesome. I so need to try this the next time some creep does something similar. I was 18 and worked at a local grocery store in the produce department. Beyond regular duties, we made fruit trays on weekends. Nothing fancy, just a variety of cut up fruit in large red bowls. Dude comes in after 10 PM. We close at 11 and asks for a tray with specific fruits. I tell him we unfortunately don't make custom trays. The 16-year-old dude who is also on shift with me overhears and tells him it's slower tonight so he can do it for him. He says okay, good. No gratefulness displayed at all. This co-worker of mine is legit always extra kind to customers. It's legitimately admirable. 20 minutes later my co-worker comes out of the back room and presents it to this customer. He immediately starts screaming at him about how bad it looks. He yells things like "that looks like absolute crap, frick. Are you an idiot?" I run over to see what the problem is. The fruit tray looks absolutely standard, but this guy isn't having it. He smashes it on the ground and keeps screaming about how we are retarded and how we had wasted his time. I snap. I tell him to get the frick out. He postures up. Keep in mind this guy is like in his 40s, ready to fight some teenagers over a fruit tray. Numerous other employees run over and yell for him to get out. He says "I'll be back for all of you retards" and runs toward and out the sliding doors. All this on camera luckily, so management calls the cops regarding his actions and that last threat. They ended up arresting him later on because apparently he also had some warrants. Hope the fruit was worth it, butthole. It couldn't have been more obvious that a guy was trying to return stolen merchandise. He lost the receipt, didn't know when it was purchased, paid with cash so we couldn't just easily look up the transaction on a credit card. He said he would call his friend to ask if they knew when it was purchased, and then he took out his iPhone and without pressing a button started to talk on it. I was like, I can clearly see the home screen with no call happening. When he got off the phone I got a little bold and in my best retail manager voice said something to the effect of, "Oh, that's cool. Is that a new update where you can talk to someone without actually calling them?" He left after that. Not me saying the "get the frick out" part, but my manager on my behalf. I'd recently had a very bad experience in my first paid job, and I quit because I felt so insecure about my appearance and ability in a typical work environment. I have achondroplastic dwarfism, making me 4 feet tall and disproportionate. So instead I was volunteering in a small town charity shop to gain some confidence again. My manager knew all about this. I was in the back room when this guy comes in and rings the bell. I walk in, and he just stares at me, laughs and says, "Is this Santa's workshop?" I just stand there and my manager, who is at the till, says coldly excuse me, and the guy looks taken aback. Sorry, I did not expect to see someone like that here. They both look at me and I just awkwardly said something like well, I am, and shrugged, and it would have been fine. Until he then said, so, do you make the toys? My manager walked out from behind the counter, pointed to the door, and said flatly, do not disrespect my staff. Get out. He started apologizing. Out. He still seemed to find the whole situation hilarious and left. Man, I miss that manager. She was the best. Thank you, Bianca. We need more managers like Bianca. I had a customer who used a racial slur to describe one of my employees for no other reason beyond the fact that he saw them and was offended that one of them was doing their job by doing the oil change that he came to us to do. I told him to apologize to my employee or we will push his car right out of the bay without oil. He refused, and we did just that. Told him he's more than welcome to buy his own oil and finish his oil change himself, and that he will be charged double for all services here on out if he comes into my store. I had no problem telling this racist jackass to go frick himself. Guy seated in the freezer of Trader Joe's, pants down, staring at a fresh turd he just laid in the middle of the aisle. I used to work the reception desk at a tattoo shop. I had many faux moments, but the one that stands out was a dude coming in with his girlfriend to get his name tattooed on her. She looked terrified, wouldn't make eye contact with me, didn't talk directly to me, and barely spoke. The whole conversation was the dude giving me her license and saying she wants my name tattooed onto her. I took way more info from both of them than I needed and tried to get the woman to come and back alone so I could talk to her, but boyfriend wouldn't have it. I eventually went back and got the shop manager, big dude, and told him what was up. I came back to the counter and lied saying we didn't have walk-ins that day and dude got pee. I started yelling. Shop manager came out and physically removed them from the shop. I called the cops and provided all the info I had. Was basically told they couldn't do anything unless it was self-reported. I still think about the woman all the time. There's a good chance she was being trafficked. Abusers will mark their victims with their own names as a power mechanism. I work in a Dutch 24/7 gas station. This German kid, 20-25 came in the shop drunk while driving, looked for beer which we are not allowed to sell, and got all mad that I hid the beers. He wanted to start a fight and he wanted to drive off in his car. That was impossible since I locked the door and alerted the cops. He lost his driver's license and got a huge fine, which he had to pay instantly. What an butthole. The one that jumps out to me was when a customer was trying to return a wall mount that was 6 months out of policy. He was being snide and verbally abusive to the customer service rep, saying things like, I know you can do this. I return crap out of policy all the time. Or well, if you weren't so stupid this would be done by now. He ended up making her start to cry when he said, Jesus Christ, are you retarded? Well, she worked with special needs kids as a volunteer and this pushed her over the edge. I walked over to him and told her to go into the back and asked him why he thinks it's okay to talk like that. I'm guessing since I'm a male and a manager he decided to be respectful. I was off beyond belief at how he made her cry though, so I cut off his explanations and told him to get out. He said, now hold on, let's all calm down, and I grabbed my radio piece and told my security to go ahead and get the police on the way down there for someone trespassing. He left so fast at that comment that he forgot his wall mount. Dong. This was over the phone. The customer was unhappy with their purchase, so I sent another one out to them in case it was defective. He calls me later that week saying the new one had the same problem and he would get violent if it wasn't solved. He was in his 80s, but I said, you know what, we will come pick it up and you can buy from somewhere else. Not worth the hassle for a little commission. I used to work for Quick Lube in Alaska for a boss named John who was a decent manager and enjoyed handling customers. He was professional and kind and knowledgeable, but loved to tell the couple stories of customers he told off. The coldest move was a customer who was berating him. Customer reached out and stuffed a business card into John's shirt pocket, demanding to see the boss right now. John said he took the card back out, shoved it that guy's pocket, and said, the buck stops here, get the frick out of my shop. I've carried that as a reminder that professionals take crap as part of their job, but nobody should take too much. A guy I knew who worked at Dunkin' Donuts would use the line, "My manager says I only get to tell one customer to frick off a year, and I'm not gonna waste it on you." Not quite the right type of answer, but relevant. I got a kick out of it, though. Thanks. I worked at a barbecue restaurant for my first job. We had a takeout area where the customer can watch you cut the meat and pack the side dishes. The girl at the register rang up a quart of potato salad when the customer asked for pasta salad, so I packed potato salad. When the customer received his order, he looked through it and flipped crap when he saw potato salad and started screaming at me, go figure. Unbeknownst to all of us, the owner of the store heard the commotion and was on the other side of the swing door behind me, which had a small window. The angry customer decided to throw a quart of potato salad at me, which I ducked to avoid. It splattered against the window on the swing door as the owner was looking out of it. He burst through the door. He is 6'4" and very built. Grabbed this scrawny dude by his shirt collar and he had straight fear in his eyes. My boss literally threw him out the door, went back to the register to ask the girl what his totally was, grabbed the cash, and tossed it out the door at the angry customer as he was collecting himself off the ground. It was an awesome scene. TLDR. My former boss threw a customer out the door after the customer threw potato salad at me. That guy could have avoided the whole situation by just saying, "Excuse me miss, I ordered pasta salad and I received potato salad." Boom. Instant fix. Crazy how being a decent human can make life so much easier. Was a supervisor in a store where people could trade in goods for other second-hand stuff. One guy stands out, and I had a lot of imbeciles I dealt with over my 7 years there. This guy had previously brought a phone from us and came back demanding we give him his money back or a new phone as the one we sold him had a crack. As it's secondhand, we may have missed the hairline crack during our testing. No biggie, so we swapped it. Thought that was the end. About a month later, he's the first customer of the day, and he is cussing us out because his phone isn't working. He has a warranty, so we take the phone, open up the casing, and what do we see? The phone is water damaged. 100% not how we would have sold it, since that is the first thing checked during a test. We tell him his warranty is void. Him and his wife freak out and start shouting, saying they'll stay there all day and tell others to not shop with us. I'm like, you're wasting your time. At least I'm paid to be here. Obviously doesn't like that, but he also slips up by saying, "If I had known it was water damage, don't you think I would have pulled the sticker off so you guys wouldn't notice?" Guy straight up confirms he's a fraud. Keeps demanding his money back. At this point I call center security. Tell them what's up. They come in and say he has to leave. He's like, "This is a public place." I decide to chime in and state this is private property. He's banned, and he can GTFO. Guy won't leave when security demand it, so they get on the radio to the cops as the guy is now technically trespassing. His dumb harpy of a wife screeches at him, and they both hightail it out, all before I'd had my morning tea. A guy whipped his dog out at the till, got his license plate number and called the police, and they ended up arresting him. I've heard of somebody who did this, getting his willy smashed with a 14-ounce can of tomato soup. Colleague was cleaning the front of the fish tanks pet shop, and one of them had this weird stuff on it that smeared as she wiped it. Asked me, "What the heck is this?" It wasn't there when I was catching fish about 10 minutes ago. I have this awful realization. I go check the CCTV, and sure enough I see what I knew I would see, even though I was really hoping not to. A guy jacking it onto the fish tank. WTF. I recognized him as he was hanging around earlier. Worse, I had to clean this up myself, as no way did my young minimum wage colleague deserve to deal with that. Needless to say, next time he showed his face, I banned him from the store right there and then. My voice was a little loud. Shudder. TLDR. Guy liked our fish a bit too much. Cleanup was required. Banning was also required. He got in my face, physically, to intimidate me. When I didn't back down, he resorted to telling me I'm fat and unpleasant. All because he wanted a free replacement of a 15-year-old item that he'd used to heck and back. And things is, if he'd be a normal freaking human and not put his weaselly freaking face kissing distance from mine while yelling and spraying his spittle everywhere, I'd have worked something out for him. Instead he has a lifelong ban from my whole book company. Like, what made him think he could run up on me? Like that would work out for him in some way. I don't know how I had the strength not to hit him. I had a customer threaten to call the cops because I wouldn't give them 50% off of a charity bear on Boxing Day. 100% of the proceeds from these teddy bears went to the Make-A-Wish Foundation and they were only $15. The store had a 50% off everything sale for Boxing Day, but it didn't include the charity bears. I add capitals because it's a charity bear. Its purpose is right in the name. I basically just kept saying, "Mom, it's a charity bear," because I didn't know how else to explain that the point of the bear was to raise money. That seemed obvious. People in line were starting to get really upset with her and she just started to freak right out and was starting to dial 911. My boss, so upset. She lost a son early in life to cancer, so Make-A-Wish was important to her. Just gave her a bear and told her to never come back. A bunch of familiar customers of ours were so upset they pitched in the $15 without us even saying anything, which was super kind of them. It was a restoration of faith in humanity, but what a nightmare for no reason, especially on Boxing Day. Should have let her dial. Would have been interesting to hear the woman explain how this store won't give me a discount is not an abuse of the emergency number. Worked at a mechanic shop. My job was to greet customers and get general information. Bin, trouble with car, etc. Guy comes in for his appointment that he had driven about an hour for. Conversation started normal. I ask for name, mileage, etc. Then out of the blue the guy starts talking about politics. Or frick, I think. I just kind of nod along while filling out papers and such. Then out of the blue he starts talking about how NRS are ruining this country. This was when Obama was president, so I guess that's how he got there. Like I said, I wasn't really paying attention up until that point. We are on the service drive and have like 6 other cars with customers and this guy is using that kind of language. So I told him he had to go. We can't help him with his car. Well, he gets pissy and loud and gets up in my face. I was playing college football at the time as a D lineman and he was an older small man. So I chuckle. Well, he didn't like that and demanded to speak to my manager. Now I'm really grinning. So I go to my manager's office and explain what happened. My manager, a black man, says, "Oh frick, no one comes out to talk to the guy." Well, as soon as the guy saw my manager, he wasn't as confident as he has been with me. Manager tells him we aren't working on his car and don't bother coming back. That was a funny day. Cell phone and entertainment business here. I'm used to having people verbally take their frustrations out on me, as if I'm the direct reason for their inconvenience. That's not even a problem anymore. What is a problem is this incident. Customer and the company can suck my dong. Me, I'm sorry you feel that way, sir. Customer, no really, they can suck my dong. Proceeds to unzip his pants. Me, sir, please do not. Dong comes out. Me, great, now I have to call the cops. Customer repeating suck my dong, the company, over and over again. The cops show up and now the guy is a registered offender. The problem that caused all of this? He apparently wasn't informed of an activation fee for upgrading his cell phone. A $30 fee just caused you to have a rough rest of your existence. Congrats. Some people's kids. I work at a movie theater. There were 4 preteen boys who were causing trouble, sneaking into movies. One wouldn't put a shirt on, and they took an empty popcorn container and went to me for a refill as I was closing the popcorn counter. They had been asked to leave multiple times. Give me a refill. I'm not giving you a refill tonight. Why not? You were asked to leave here already. I'm not going to give you any popcorn. Just give me the popcorn number. He looked at me and chucked the popcorn container at me. I looked at him and screamed in my most convincing angry mom voice, "Don't throw things at me and get out of here right now." It got the attention of the other manager, who was able to call security to escort them out. I used to work at a gas station. My first shift, this large man comes in and starts yelling for some reason and my manager on duty ejects him from the store and the man is hollering that he's never gonna buy gas from the company again. A different time, this small lady was mad that we wouldn't accept a return without a receipt. Theft was a major problem and the company wouldn't accept returns without a receipt over $10 when it used to be $25. So this lady decided to grab the register and throw it at us working at the counter. Police got involved in that one. Owned my own restaurant. I'd kick people out weekly. I want a burger combo and a Coke. Okay, burger combo and medium Coke. $4.33. It says $2.85. Yep. $2.85 is for the burger and fries. Medium Coke is $1.25. Tax is $0.23. Total is $4.33. The drink comes with the meal. No, it does not. We've got a lot better things than soda instead, so it's just burger and fries. Ever had a chocolate phosphate? Soda comes with the meal. Let me talk to your manager. Turn to my left 180 degrees. Turn to my right 180 degrees. Hi, I'm the manager. Soda doesn't come with the meal. I don't believe you. You're lying. It's nice you don't believe me. I am not lying. Would you prefer to talk to the owner? Fair warning. Guy's a bit of a dong. Don't talk to me like that. Get me the owner right away. Turns 360 in place. Get the frick out of my store. What I'm more in awe about is $2.85 for a burger and fries. I work in a cinema in the UK. Got called out to check a kid's age as they didn't look old enough for a 15 rated film. Straight away parents are on edge. Parents are the worst for it checks. They'll swear the sky's purple to get their precious kid into fricking Deadpool. Well, he does look young. Has he it? Do you want to see his dong? Why would you say that was my first reaction? No sir, I don't want to see your kid's dong even if he is 15. I asked him and his entire family to leave. He came back and apologized. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.